Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris-Beth Cowie, and I'm the founder of Empowered Facts and the host of BizGrams. Each weekday, I have the privilege of coming to you with a phenomenal guest. And today we have Tanya Hayles, and she is the founder of Black Mom Connection, a global online village with over 15,000 moms, which is amazing, as in this nonprofit organization. Welcome to you, Tanya. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well as also. I'm super excited to just learn a little bit more about what you do with your organization and just to understand your entrepreneurial journey. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Awesome. That is super fine. Tanya, so tell us, what is Black Moms Connection?
Sure. So Black Moms Connection started as a Facebook group in 2015. I asked 12 of my friends here in Toronto, if I started this thing, would you join? I was, like most Gen Z, millennial, Gen X moms. I was in a whole bunch of groups on Facebook. It was first time mom, but I wanted to be able to get very Black answers to my very Black questions, like sunscreen, hair care, and then things a little bit more serious about navigating the education system, etc. So started it, and then it was slow going in the beginning. I was like, if you build it, they will come, and not so much. And then in the spring of 2016, we went from 400 to 4,000 in 2 months, which was a whirlwind. I was very, very confused by where everyone was coming from, but it turned out to be directly tied to the launch of Black Lives Matter in the US. So American moms were looking for a safe space to say, I'm afraid for myself, I'm afraid for my son, have these very relevant and real conversations about Black motherhood and just about being Black in general. So that same year in 2016, we incorporated as a nonprofit just so we could take the conversations offline and provide real tangible tools, resources to the moms. So 5 years later, we're actually over 20,000 moms. We've got 9 chapters from Asia, Atlanta to Alberta. I like alliteration, so I really like the fact that there's those three chapters. And then we also do, financial literacy programs. We do events. We have financial grants where we help people buy, food, formula. We pay rent or their mortgage if they're having issues due to COVID. So there's a ton of things that we're doing. There's a ton of things that we're working on. And I'm tired, but it's good.
Hey, I love it. And I will say this, as someone who coaches businesses to help them go from ideation to commercialization, I talk to entrepreneurs about that fundamental fact. You have to be the subject matter about your industry, about your target market. I can help you navigate, but you should be coming to my table and I get support with all of the resources and things, but you got to do it. And so I think I'm going to take that clip, your clip that you just said, and say, listen, it's not just me. Listen, this is a must. Okay. And I think that is so powerful. So if you're looking now or later on, know that market research is so essential for tapping in to the ecosystem. What is happening? What is the environment? And letting that inform you to make that next decision. And it is such a powerful fact. And one of the things that you also talked about was, having this community, plugging into Empowered Facts. And I appreciate you for doing that. And because oftentimes we are thinking we have to do it alone. And it's like, no, listen, you even said, I don't even want to be the executive director because it responsibility, right? And so looking at it from that vantage point, it's like you, as the visionary, you're still casting that vision, but you can't do all of the roles effectively. Yes, in this current state, you are the ED, but you're looking for that transition and change, right? And so that is so powerful, tapping into community to help your business grow ultimately, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have like founder syndrome, where I get it. You created this thing. And you've nursed it, you've put in blood, sweat, and tears and money and time, and you want your return on investment. You want a return on all that you invested, but you have to change your mentality about what that return is going to look like, right? Does it need to be monetary? At the end of the day, regardless of what happens with BMC, I'm its founder forever. I never have to be its executive director in order, you know what I mean? That type, whoever is its first executive director is going to have big shoes to fill because they're following me, right? They're going to have a harder job than I am. I just get to go talk. I get to talk on these panels. I get to write the things. I'm going to have the easy part of being its loudest and the biggest ambassador, you know, its biggest champion. That's the life that I want. I don't want budgets and payroll. I want no parts, right? And so you have to think beyond, if you're really starting, are you creating a hobby that you want to get paid for, or are you really starting a business? Those are two very, very different things. And so you have to think short-term and long-term. You know, most of my businesses is wrapped up in my labor. Event planning isn't something that I could necessarily pass down to my son. But if I create something else that creates a product or a service that can be passed down, right? One of my big goals for BMC is a building. I put this out there. I always say, like, I want to purchase, not lease, not rent. I want to purchase a building that'll have a childcare center, a resource center inside. I want something that's going to be stable and outlive even my son. My grandkids are going to be able to go there, you know, decades from now. And so you really have to, I think we really just need to get out of this whole, like, you have to hold on to it forever. And one of the books that I read that I really liked, Big Magic, really makes that comparison. Stop calling these things your babies, right? Babies are to be nurtured and taken care of and safe and secure. Your businesses, you might have to chop up. You might have to pivot. You might have to rebrand. I did a rebrand last year, right? Like you can't compare your business to a baby, because then you're less likely to treat it as ruthlessly as sometimes you need to.
So powerful. So I love that, you know. Yes, it does come from you, that vision. You're birthing that vision, but I think that analogy, it sometimes hold us back, right? In terms of being able to go from that small business mindset to actually, or self-employed, where you just created that job or hobby for yourself, to growing that business, that legacy business. So, and yes, you're forced to make some tough decisions along the way, right? And so I love that analogy. So tell us, if on your entrepreneurial journey, what is one tip or advice you will give to other entrepreneurs on their way?
I mean, other than everything I just said, I think if you're going to start a business, start with these two fundamental questions. Why? Why are you starting this business? And what problem are you solving? Because if you pitch to grantors, if you're a nonprofit, or you pitch to investors, if you're for profit, they're going to ask you. And so, you know, is it because, again, and I go back to, are you just trying to monetize a hobby? Which is nothing wrong with that, but just don't call it a business. And please stop calling yourself a CEO if you have no employees. Drives me crazy. But if it is a business, then, you know, what need in society are you filling? What problem are you solving, right? And so if someone's like, well, what is BMC solving? I'm like, we're filling an information gap. You know, a lot of the information, whether it's books or blogs or whatever it is about motherhood, is centered towards one type of person. It's centered towards white women. And they don't have to deal with, you know, navigating their children being called the N-word, right? TDSB has horrible statistics about the suspension rates and expulsion rates of Black and Indigenous and students of color. So there are differences just by default of us raising Black children. So if there's no information out there to help navigate moms through that one particular aspect of motherhood, navigating the education system, which is a pretty big one, right? It starts at JK at 4 years old and goes until they're 18 when they graduate. It's a really big chunk of their life. So that information gap is that's the problem I'm solving. I'm also creating safe space for mothers, but I'm filling an informational gap. So everything that I do, I have to come back to, why am I doing it? Am I doing it because of just for the money? That's a terrible, terrible reason to go into entrepreneurship, because it takes a minute before you are really creating enough revenue to like, oh, yes, I can rest and relax for the month of December because I did well all year. Money is a terrible reason to go into entrepreneurship. And I tell people this blatantly, I don't chase money, I chase opportunities. We have to get out of this scarcity mentality that that you have to take on every single client just for the sake of a paycheck. I'm just like, absolutely not. Some clients are not worth your sanity and your mental health. And every single time I've taken on a client out of desperation, it has come back to haunt me every single